Hey guys, Hector here, coming to you late tonight. I'm gonna redo the video that was deleted yesterday. I don't know how that happened, but like I mentioned on Tuesday, that I'm on a journey for this year to achieve the side straddle splits, and I'm gonna be kind of taking you through my journey. And if you want to join, I highly encourage you. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to improve your flexibility, you're going to move better, and ultimately you'll get stronger, okay? And just to kind of tie in on Tuesday what I talked about, we don't really have to stretch per se to increase flexibility, okay? Believe it or not, your muscles actually have the full, they're at their fullest length already. So what seems like tight muscles is actually your nervous system protecting yourself from injury. That's essentially what's happening. Whenever we put ourselves in certain positions throughout the day, what happens is that our body gets used to those specific postures, and it knows that, okay, this is the safest range of motion for Hector to get into. Now, if I don't ever go into extended ranges of motion, like let's say the splits or something like that, I don't ever use those movements, that's going to be very foreign to my body, and it's going to think that I'm possibly going to injure myself. So what will happen is you get into an unfamiliar position, and what's going to happen is your body's going to tense up, and it's going to tighten all of the muscles with all its might, and it's not going to let it go to prevent you from injuring yourself. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to show you, we can do a little test. I highly encourage you, do this with me. We're going to do a little test just to prove that your muscles already have the full extensibility that they need. So your muscles aren't short, they're already, they have the full extensibility that they need. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little test. So, essentially, no one muscle runs from one leg to the other, right? No tendon or ligament runs from one side to the other. The only thing that runs from one side to the other is your skin, essentially. And your hips, your legs are kind of like, think of like an automobile, like independent suspension. Your legs and your hips should be able to move independently of each other. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to do a little test just to show you that you don't have tight muscles. Your body's afraid of injuring itself. So you can do this little test like this. So you're going to sit down with your feet straight ahead. And what you're going to do is you're going to simply open up one leg 90 degrees. Look. Bang. See, so I was able to easily open up my leg 90 degrees. Come back. And now I'm going to do the other side. Bang. Open it up to 90 degrees. Okay? I bring it back. So I'm going to show you one more time. 90 degrees, no problem. 90 degrees, no problem. Now, what happens when I try to move both of my legs at the same time? My body locks up, and I get really tight up and through the hips and in through the groin. Okay? So right now, I'm barely at 90 degrees right now, and my muscles are already tightening up because they think that I'm going to injure myself. So that just goes to show you that your hips move independently of each other, but when you try to move them out at the same time, they freeze up, they get tight, and what you perceive as tight muscles is actually just a safety mechanism to keep you from injuring yourself. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down one of our next progressions. On Tuesday we went over the goblet squat, and we talked about the 3 key principles that we want to focus on for flexibility. Is using strength to pull ourselves or to push ourselves into a certain position. And then upon using strength, we want to create space, okay, by prying at either the hips or the shoulder or whatever it is that you're trying to create space at. And then spreading the load. So if you're holding on to a specific weight or your body weight, you want to focus on generating that tension, that load throughout the entire body and not just focusing on one specific joint, okay? So what we're going to work on today is we're going to work on a little exercise called the frog, okay? So the frog, we're going to be on all fours. You're going to be on all fours, and you're going to turn your feet out like this. Like my toes are going to be pointed and facing you, and then my other toes are going to be facing the other direction. So if I turn around, you see both of my feet are going to be like this. okay? So I'm going to get into a moderately wide position with my knees, and I'm going to come down to my elbows, okay? Now, we're going to begin to rock back. As I rock back, you don't want to round your pelvis like this. You want to keep your back and your spine neutral. You're going to inhale, and you're going to breathe, and you're going to sit back. As soon as you feel a barrier and you feel that like you can't go any further, you're going to relax and you're going to breathe here for a moment. After you'll go through several breaths, once you feel like you're starting to relax a little bit, we're going to start to use strength. And I'm using my hip flexors to actively pull myself back. That's when I'm hitting that barrier. Now I'm going to start to pry my hips side to side. So I'm trying to create space and pull my hips out of the socket. And I'm moving side to side, okay? Now we're going to spread the load by creating tension, and you're going to try to close your knees like you're pulling your knees together through the floor. And don't do this really fast. You have to do this, you have to gradually increase the tension in your groin like you're trying to close your knees back together. And you're going to breathe. So right now I'm slowly generating tension and squeezing as hard as I can. And then when I feel like I cannot maintain that tension and I'm starting to shake, I'm going to completely relax. And you saw me just gain like another inch or two of depth in my hip. And then you'll stay here again for, until you feel like you're ready to go deeper. This is how you're going to go deeper. You're going to move forward to come out, and you're going to take your knees a little bit wider. I just went out about another 1/8 of an inch. Back on the elbows, keep your back neutral, and use strength. Pull with the hip flexors, and pull your body back. Oh boy. Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. Try to breathe through that sticking point. Hang out here for a few minutes. Then you're going to begin to crush the floor again. You're trying to close your knees together. And you're going to slowly generate that tension. Continue to generate it over the course of a minute or two for as long as you can hold it. When you begin to start to shake and tremble, that's when your body's getting ready to relax. And then create space. Move the hips side to side. To come out, you just move your body weight all the way forward, like this. Oh. And that's the frog. Keep working on that until you can get your pelvis all the way to the floor if possible, okay? So what's happening is when you feel like though your muscles are tight, they're not tight. Your body's just trying to protect itself. What you have to do, the ultimate key to flexibility is you have to be able to outlast the stretch reflex. So the stretch reflex is basically when your muscle gets stretched to a certain position, to a certain length that it's not used to and that it does not like. What happens is as you stretch it, it'll fire and it'll lock up as a safety mechanism, okay? Kind of like whenever you go to the doctor and they kind of tap you on the knee with like that little device and they kind of tap you on the knee. What happens is when they tap your knee, you're not consciously kicking. What's happening is they tap your knee and they hit that ligament and it stretches that ligament and then it reacts and it shoots forward as a reflex. That's an example of the stretch reflex. So, hey Thomas, what's up, buddy? So, using the frog and in flexibility, what you got to focus on is you're focused on trying to outweight the stretch reflex. As soon as you create enough tension in that muscle, this is something called the Golgi tendon organ, the GTO. Golgi tendon organ is basically when you create enough tension on that tendon, what's going to happen is it can only maintain that tension for so long, and then it's just going to blow and bang, it's going to release, and that's going to let you go into that flexibility, okay, and access that new range of motion. So the key principles you want to focus on for flexibility is use strength. So for instance, actively pulling yourself down with the hip flexors, okay? Creating space by prying and moving side to side. So I use that analogy on Tuesday is if you've got a steel, like a steel rod and it's cemented into the ground, you can't just pull the rod up out of the ground. You're going to end up tearing something else, and it's not going to be tearing the pole out of the ground. What you want to do is you want to kind of wiggle that post, right? That pole. If you were to move it around and kind of wiggle it around, what you'll do is you'll start to create space and you'll loosen up all the dirt, and then that's going to allow you to pull that post out. That's exactly what you're doing with your hips. You're moving and you're kind of prying at the hips side to side, and that's what's going to give you that flexibility and that mobility back. Once you're done doing the frog, then you're going to sit in that straddle position here. Then you're going to sit, look at this, right now I was at about 90 degrees here when I first opened my legs, and now I can easily go way beyond 90 right now. So once you get into this position here, you want to keep your chest up and you want to breathe. Now I'm going to use strength here to start to create more space in my hip joint. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to just just try to stretch and pull on my muscles. What I'm actively doing here is I'm using my feet, and imagine there's a wall right here in front of my feet, and I'm actively pushing those walls away, creating space in my hip, and then I'm going to begin to pry at the hip like this, and I'm trying to create space in that hip joint. Okay, then I'm going to try to drive my legs together, create tension, and then and relax. Okay, so that's something I'm going to practice here for like another 10 minutes or so. Is I'm going to go back into the frog. This is something you can do at the house in the morning. This is something I'm adding to my morning a little bit every day until I perfect the straddle split. And that's my goal for this year, for 2017, is to achieve the side straddle split. So that's all I got for you guys today. If you have any comments, you're enjoying these videos, like I mentioned before, in the bottom right-hand corner of your phone, it says "Be alerted next time I go live." Please share this video if you got value out of it as well. And I'll see you guys for tomorrow's episode. Have a great night, guys. Bye.